Hello everyone, welcome to fall walk number 27. I can't believe we've actually been walking for this long. We're almost about to hit about a month of walking, literally every single day since the beginning of this channel. Pretty much. I actually missed a couple days. There's that video that I made regarding me having missed a day of walking and some other days that I missed during Thanksgiving, so we are approaching steadily the 30-day mark, which will be our first month. So before I get started, let's go ahead and start our fitness tracker. Walk. Okay, so earlier today, for my lunch break, let me quickly see what I did. I did a 1.57 mile walk. So if I do just to be exact here, 3.23 minus 1.57, I need to do a little under 2 miles today to satisfy my daily goal. So as long as I get close to 2 miles, I'll be fine. That's probably what I'm going to end up doing. Again, the reason I do it this way is because, I could walk the entire hour that I do during the weekends, during the weekdays, but I've already had a full work day plus my walk during lunch. So it's actually nice that I only have to do a little bit during my afternoon walk, because then it gives me more time to relax at night, cook if I have to, have a good meal, watch some TV, and just get the recovery that I know I need. And I suggest that you all do the same. Make it so that you have time to be able to do your walk and also time to get the necessary recovery that you need. Okay, so yesterday we started reading Atomic Habits, and I went through chapter 1. So today what I want to do is I want to essentially pick up where we left off. Before that, I want to give a little bit of a summary of chapter 1, which the book does provide for us, so that way we can be fresh with the knowledge that we learned yesterday before we hop on to chapter 2. Okay, so chapter summary, let me put this in horizontal viewing mode. Okay, so the first bullet point here says that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Getting 1% better every day counts for a lot in the long run. And, if you've been watching my videos for a long time, you know that this is something I've been preaching since the beginning. And it actually is kind of cool now. It comes full circle because I saw the diagram, which I forgot to put the diagrams in the video yesterday. I'll do better today and try to remember. But I remember seeing that diagram, or that info graphic, I guess, a long time ago regarding a 1% better change. And I never knew that it came from this book. So seeing it now firsthand was pretty interesting. And, I think we can all agree with the sentiment that 1% better every single day does lead to massive changes. If you've been walking with me since day one, by now, hopefully you've developed a nice routine of walking. You can almost do it daily without question. We got some ducks over here that are fighting. I don't know if you see them. They don't seem very happy. Ducks are gonna do what they're gonna do, They gotta protect their own. So, 1% better every day makes drastic improvements. You've probably walked a couple of tens of miles by now. You've perhaps done some brisk walks, some slow walks. Maybe you've gotten out of your comfort zone and you've done walks elsewhere besides the neighborhood like I'm doing here. All that to say that all those changes that have led up to today have had great impacts on the overall effort. So the next thing, it says, habits are a double-edged sword. They can work for you or against you, which is why understanding the details is essential. Small changes often appear to make no difference until you cross a critical threshold. The most powerful outcomes of any compounding process are delayed. You need to be patient. Now, this is something that I feel like I've learned a lot with investing. So I got started with investing when I started working at the company I currently work at when I was 24 years old. And frankly, I knew nothing about the stock market, and I still don't really know a lot about the stock market, but I try to read a little bit here and there whenever I can to learn a little bit about how I'm deciding to invest my money. And it's very true that, the first couple of hundreds or $1,000 that you make is the most difficult, but once you get the ball rolling, then compounding really comes into play. And every single year after that, you will continue to make more money passively by making large amounts of investments early on and continually. So I like to think that walking, for example, is the same. When you start off with walking for the first time, Perhaps you're doing 5 or 10 minutes a day, and you might do that for a long time before you see any noticeable result. And then one day you are doing 10 minutes and you feel like, I can actually do more and I don't even feel tired. So I'm just gonna do more. Here's a perfect example of that. And I'm not sure if I talked about this yesterday. I think I did. It's regarding the dumbbell curls that I did yesterday. So like I said, my baseline of strength for the longest time has been pretty much 25 to 30 pounds. Usually I've only been able to do, maybe like a set of 30-pound dumbbell curls before just getting too tired to do another set. Like the second set would have had to been with 25 or 20 pounds. But yesterday, just something happened, and I think it's that moment where I crossed the threshold, right? It was a critical moment for me. My body had adapted, and I was able to do all of my sets with the 30 pounds, right? Maybe people see me at the gym, they see me lifting 30 pounds, and they say, man, that person's stronger than I am. They're lucky. They're just like that. But they completely ignore the fact that I've been trying to be fairly consistent with the gym for the past, 2 or 3 months now. So I think for the amount of time that I've been going and the intensity and dedication I've been given, it makes sense that I would be able to achieve my goal of lifting 30 pounds. Like I said, for me, it's all relative. 30 pounds for me is amazing. I am extremely happy with that because I know exactly what my strength standards are. Of course, I'm going to try and push it. Hopefully one day I'll come back on, one of these walks and I'll tell you how now I can lift 35 pounds with ease. That'll be the day when I can do 3 sets of 10 reps with 35 pounds. I think by then that's a massive improvement. Let me do a quick camera check. Okay, making sure everything's good. So all that to say, quickly going back to this point here, small changes often appear to make no difference until you come across a critical threshold. I do believe I crossed that threshold yesterday, and you probably are too. Just don't let anyone detract you from your goal or move you, from where you currently are. Just keep doing the thing, and you will make progress. An atomic habit is a little habit that is part of a larger system. Just as atoms are the building blocks of molecules, atomic habits are the building blocks of remarkable results. If you want better results, then forget about setting goals. Focus on your system instead. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So all that to say, develop a good system so even when you reach your goal, you can continue to be great at whatever it is you're putting your mind to, right? So let's say your goal is to become rich. A lot of people might say, when I make $1 million, I'll become rich. And then they make the $1 million, and I don't know, they spend it, or now they're lost. They have no idea what to do. But create a system in which you can continue building wealth, generational wealth for your kids and their kids and their kids, right? That's one avenue you can go down. Perhaps you're investing your time into sports and you tell yourself, I don't know too much about sports, but I'll give an analogy in skateboarding since, I used to skateboard when I was younger. You might say, hey, I want to be able to do a trick down a stair set of 3 stairs, right? But don't just stop there. Develop a system in which you'll continue to improve so that way you can take your, expertise to higher and higher stair sets. 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps, etc. There was a good analogy that we gave yesterday with the basketball team, setting up a system in which you can continue to win more games. It wasn't so much about winning a game, but rather the system that allowed for the players to play at their best to win that game. Okay, so today we will be starting off on chapter 2, how your habits shape your identity and vice versa. Let's go ahead and get started. Why is it so easy to repeat bad habits and so hard to form good ones? Few things can have a more powerful impact in your life than improving your daily habits. And yet it is likely that this time next year you'll be doing the same thing rather than something better. It often feels difficult to keep good habits going for more than a few days, even with sincere effort and the occasional burst of motivation. Habits like exercise, meditation, journaling, and cooking are reasonable for a day or two and then become a hassle. However, once your habits are established, they seem to stick around forever, especially the unwanted ones. Despite our best intentions, unhealthy habits like eating junk food, watching too much television, procrastinating, and smoking can feel impossible to break. Changing our habits is challenging for 2 reasons. 1, we try to change the wrong thing, and 2, we try to change our habits in the wrong way. In this chapter, I'll address the first point. In the chapters that follow, I'll answer the second. Our first mistake is that we try to change the wrong thing. To understand what I mean, consider that there are 3 levels at which change can occur. You can imagine them like the layers of an onion. 3 layers of behavioral change. And again, there is a graph here with a figure caption that I will put on the screen so that you can see exactly what I'm saying. The first layer is changing your outcomes. This level is concerned with changing your results, losing weight, publishing a book, winning a championship. Most of the goals you set are associated with this level of change. The second layer is changing your process. This level is concerned with changing your habits and systems, implementing a new routine at the gym, decluttering your desk for better workflow, developing a meditation practice. Most of the habits you build are associated with this level. The third and deepest layer is changing your identity. This level is concerned with changing your beliefs, your worldview, your self-image, your judgments about yourself and others. Most of the beliefs, assumptions, and biases you hold are associated with this level. Outcomes are what you get. Processes are about what you do. Identity is about what you believe. When it comes to building the habits that last, when it comes to building a system of 1% improvements, the problem is not that one level is better or worse than another. All levels of change are useful in their own way. The problem is the direction of change. Many people begin the process of changing their habits by focusing on what they want to achieve. This leads us to outcome-based habits. The alternative is to build identity-based habits. With this approach, we start by focusing on who we wish to become. And then we have some graphs here. One of them is outcome-based habits. The next is identity-based habits. And we also have a figure caption explaining the diagram, which again, I will post on the video for you all to see. Imagine 2 people resisting a cigarette. When offered to smoke, the first person says, "No thanks, I'm trying to quit." It sounds like a reasonable response, but this person still believes they are a smoker who is trying to be something else. They are hoping their behavior will change while carrying around the same beliefs. The second person declines by saying, "No thanks, I'm not a smoker." It's a small difference, but this statement signals a shift in identity. Smoking was part of their former life, not their current one. They no longer identify as someone who smokes. Most people don't even consider identity change when they set out to improve. They just think, I want to be skinny, outcome, and if I stick to this diet, then I'll be skinny, process. They set goals and determine the actions they should take to achieve those goals without considering the beliefs that drive their actions. They never shift the way they look at themselves, and they don't realize that their old identity can sabotage their new plans for change. I'd take a second there to look at the car, of course. Behind every system of actions are a system of beliefs. The system of a democracy is founded on beliefs like freedom, majority rule, and social equality. The system of dictatorship has a very different set of beliefs like absolute authority and strict obedience. You can imagine many ways to try to get more people to vote in a democracy, but such behavior change would never get off the ground in a dictatorship. That's not the identity of the system. Voting is a behavior that is impossible under a certain set of beliefs. A similar pattern exists whether we are discussing individuals, organizations, or societies. There are a set of beliefs and assumptions that shape the system and identity behind the habits. Behavior that is incongruent with the self will not last. You may want more money, but if your identity is someone who consumes rather than creates, then you'll continue to be pulled towards spending rather than earning. You may want better health, but if you continue to prioritize comfort over accomplishment, you'll be drawn to relaxing rather than training. It's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led to your past behavior. You have a new goal and a new plan, but you haven't changed who you are. The story of Brian Clark, an entrepreneur from Boulder, Colorado, provides a good example. For as long as I can remember, I've chewed my fingernails, Clark told me. It started as a nervous habit when I was young, and then morphed into an undesirable grooming ritual. One day I resolved to stop chewing my nails until they grew out a bit. Through mindful willpower alone, I managed to do it. Then Clark did something surprising. I asked my wife to schedule my first ever manicure, he said. My thought was that if I started paying attention to maintain my nails, I wouldn't chew them. And it worked, but not for the monetary reason. What happened was the manicure made my fingers look really nice for the first time. The manicurist even said that, other than the chewing, I had really healthy, attractive nails. Suddenly I was proud of my fingernails, and even though that's something that I never aspired to, it made all the difference. I've never chewed my nails since, not even a single close call. And it's because I now take pride in properly caring for them. The ultimate form of intrinsic motivation is when a habit becomes part of your identity. It's one thing to say, I'm the type of person who wants this. It's something very different to say, I'm the type of person who is this. The more pride you have in a particular aspect of your identity, the more motivated you will be to maintain the habits associated with it. If you're proud of how your hair looks, you'll develop all sorts of habits to care and maintain for it. If you're proud of the size of your biceps, you'll make sure you never skip an upper body workout. If you're proud of the scarves you knit, you'll be more likely to spend hours knitting each week. Once your pride gets involved, you'll fight tooth and nail to maintain your habits. True behavior change is identity change. You might start a habit because of motivation, but the only reason you'll stick with one is that it becomes part of your identity. Anyone can convince themselves to visit the gym or eat healthy once or twice, but if you don't shift the belief behind the behavior, then it's hard to stick with long-term changes. Improvements are only temporary until they become part of who you are. The goal is not to read a book, the goal is to become a reader. The goal is not to run a marathon, the goal is to become a runner. The goal is not to learn an instrument, the goal is to become a musician. Your behaviors are usually a reflection of your identity. What you do is an indication of the type of person you believe that you are, either consciously or non-consciously. Research has shown that once a person believes in a particular aspect of their identity, they are more likely to act in alignment with that belief. For example, people who identified as being a voter were more likely to vote than those who simply claimed voting was an action they wanted to perform. Similarly, the person who incorporates exercise into their identity doesn't have to convince themselves to train. Doing the right thing is easy. After all, when your behavior and your identity are fully aligned, you are no longer pursuing behavior change. You are simply acting like the type of person you already believe yourself to be. Like all aspects of habit formation, this too is a double-edged sword. When working for you, identity change can be a powerful force for self-improvement. When working against you, though, identity change can be a curse. Once you have an adopted identity, it can be easy to let your allegiance to it impact your ability to change. Many people walk through life in a cognitive slumber, blindly following the norms attached to their identity. I'm terrible with directions. I'm not a morning person. I'm bad at remembering people's names. I'm always late. I'm not good with technology. I'm horrible at math. And a thousand other variations. I'm laughing or chuckling because a lot of these things are true. When you have repeated a story to yourself for years, it is easy to slide into these mental grooves and accept them as a fact. In time, you begin to resist certain actions because that's not who I am. There is internal pressure to maintain your self-image and behave in a way that is consistent with your beliefs. You find whatever way you can to avoid contradicting yourself. The more deeply a thought or action is tied to your identity, the more difficult it is to change it. It can feel uncomfortable, or rather, it can feel comfortable to believe what your culture believes, group identity, or to do what upholds your self-image, personal identity, even if it's wrong. The biggest barrier to positive change at any level, individual, team, society, is identity conflict. Good habits can make rational sense, but if they conflict with your identity, you will fail to put them into action. On any given day, you may struggle with your habits because you're too busy or too tired or too overwhelmed or hundreds of other reasons. Over the long run, however, the real reason you fail to stick with habits is that your self-image gets in the way. This is why you can't get too attached to one version of your identity. Progress requires unlearning. Becoming the best version of yourself requires you to continuously edit your beliefs and to upgrade and expand your identity. This brings us to an important question. If your beliefs and worldview play such an important role in your behavior, where do they come from in the first place? How exactly is your identity formed? And how can you emphasize new aspects of your identity that serve you and gradually erase the pieces that hinder you? The two-step process to changing your identity. Your identity emerges out of your habits. You are not born with preset beliefs. Every belief, including those about yourself, is learned and conditioned through experience. More precisely, your habits are how you embody your identity. When you make your bed each day, you embody the identity of an organized person. When you write each day, you embody the identity of a creative person. When you train each day, you embody the identity of an athletic person. The more you repeat a behavior, the more you reinforce the identity associated with that behavior. In fact, the word identity was originally derived from the Latin words essentitas, which means being, and identitum, which means repeatedly. Your identity is literally your repeated beingness. We just crossed 1 mile. Whatever your identity is right now, so let's go over that, right? We are embodying the identity of a person that walks every day by doing these walks continuously. And I hope that you begin to embody that identity and identify with that person. Because, again, the goal is not to hit 3.2 miles every single day. It is for the challenge, but in reality, the goal is to become someone that can sustain walking daily for long periods of time, to become a walker. Whatever your identity is right now, you only believe it because you have proof of it. If you go to church every Sunday for 20 years, you have evidence that you are religious. If you study biology for 1 hour every night, you have evidence that you are studious. If you go to the gym, even when it's snowing, you have evidence that you are committed to fitness. The more evidence you have for belief, the more strongly you will believe it. For most of my early life, I didn't consider myself a writer. If you were to ask any of my high school teachers or college professors, they will tell you I was an average writer at best, certainly not a standout. When I began my writing career, I published a new article every Monday and Thursday for the first few years. As the evidence grew, so did my identity as a writer. I didn't start out as a writer, I became one through my habits. Of course, your habits are not the only actions that influence your identity, but by virtue of their frequency, they are usually the most important ones. Each experience in life modifies your self-image, but it's unlikely you would consider yourself a soccer player because you kicked the ball once, or an artist because you scribbled a picture. As you repeat these actions, however, the evidence accumulates and your self-image begins to change. The effect of one-off experiences tends to fade away while the effect of habits gets reinforced with time, which means your habits contribute most of the evidence that shapes your identity. In this way, the process of building habits is actually the process of becoming yourself. This is a gradual evolution. We do not change by snapping our fingers and deciding to be someone entirely new. We change bit by bit, day by day, habit by habit. We are continually undergoing microevolutions of the self. Each habit is like a suggestion. Hey, maybe this is who I am. If you finish a book, then perhaps you're the type of person who likes reading. If you go to the gym, then perhaps you're the type of person who likes exercise. If you practice playing the guitar, perhaps you are the type of person who likes music. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs, but as the votes build up, so does the evidence of your new identity. This is one reason why meaningful change does not require radical change. Small habits can make a meaningful difference by providing evidence of a new identity. And if a change is meaningful, it is actually big. That's the paradox of making small improvements. Putting this all together, you can see that habits are the path to changing your identity. The most practical way to change who you are is to change what you do. Each time you write a page, you are a writer. Each time you practice the violin, you are a musician. Each time you start a workout, you are an athlete. Each time you encourage your employees, you are a leader. Each habit not only gets results, but also teaches you something far more important, to trust yourself. You start to believe you actually can accomplish these things. When the votes mount up and the evidence begins to change, the story you tell yourself begins to change as well. Of course, it works the opposite way too. Every time you choose to perform a bad habit, it's a vote for that identity. The good news is that you don't need to be perfect. In any election, there are going to be votes for both sides. You don't need a unanimous vote to win an election. You just need a majority. It doesn't matter if you cast a few votes for a bad behavior or an unproductive habit. Your goal is simply to win the majority of the time. New identities require new evidence. If you keep casting the same votes you've always cast, you're going to get the same results you've always had. I'm actually going to turn around here. If nothing changes, nothing is going to change. It's a simple two-step process. Decide the type of person you want to be. Prove it to yourself with small wins. First, decide who you want to be. This holds at any level. As an individual, as a team, as a community, as a nation. What do you want to stand for? What are your principles and values? Who do you wish to become? These are big questions, and many people aren't sure where to begin, but they do know what kind of results they want. To get six-pack abs, or to feel less anxious, or to double their salary. That's fine. Start there and work backward from the results you want, the type of person who can get those results. Ask yourself, who is that person that could get the outcome I want? Who is the type of person that could lose 40 pounds? Who is the type of person that could learn a new language? Who is the type of person that could run a successful startup? For example, who is the type of person who could write a book? It's probably someone who is consistent and reliable. Now your focus shifts from writing a book, outcome-based, to being the type of person who is consistent and reliable, identity-based. This process can lead to beliefs like, I'm the kind of teacher who stands up for her students. I'm the kind of doctor who gives each patient the time and empathy they need. I'm the kind of manager who advocates for her employees. Once you have a handle on the type of person you want to be, you can begin taking small steps to reinforce your desired identity. I have a friend who lost over 100 pounds by asking herself, what would a healthy person do? All day long, she would use this question as a guide. Would a healthy person walk or take a cab? See, we're walking right now, so we are healthy people. Would a healthy person order a burrito or a salad? She figured if she acted like a healthy person long enough, eventually she would become that person. She was right. The concept of identity-based habits is our first introduction to another key theme in this book, feedback loops. Your habits shape your identity, and your identity shapes your habits. It's a two-way street. The formation of all habits is a feedback loop, a concept we will explore in depth in the next chapter. But it's important to let your values, principles, and identity drive the loop rather than the results. The focus should always be on becoming that type of person, not getting a particular outcome. The real reason habits matter. Identity change is the North Star of habit change. The remainder of this book will provide you with step-by-step instructions on how to build better habits in yourself, your family, your team, your company, and anywhere else you wish. But the true question is, are you becoming the type of person you want to become? The first step is not what or how, but who. You need to know who you want to be, otherwise your quest for change is like a boat without a rudder, and that's why we are starting here. You have the power to change your beliefs about yourself. Your identity is not set in stone. You have a choice in every moment. You can choose the identity you want to reinforce today with the habits you choose today. And this brings us to the deeper purpose of this book and the real reason habits matter. Building better habits isn't about littering your day with life hacks. It's not about flossing one tooth each night or taking a cold shower each morning or wearing the same outfit each day. It's not about achieving external measures of success like earning more money, losing weight, or reducing stress. Habits can help you achieve all of these things, but fundamentally, they are not about having something. They are about becoming someone. Ultimately, your habits matter because they help you become the type of person you wish to be. They are the channel through which you develop your deepest beliefs about yourself. Quite literally, you become your habits. Okay, so we just finished reading chapter 2 of Atomic Habits, and I gotta say that was very important. Really what I took from that is pretty much that last sentence, that you become the habits that you practice every single day. So I want everyone that is listening to this to really think about a version of themselves that they want to be, and think about how can they become that person. Think about the type of person that person is. For example, for me, pretty much at this point, I would like to become more athletic, right? So what would that person do? They would probably train a lot, at least once a day. They would try to make healthy decisions when they're eating, right? They would drink a lot of water. These are the types of things that these people become. So instead of just telling myself, I want to be a fit person, I will instead think about who I want to become and try to make those changes daily. So I want you to go through the same exercise and picture yourself. Perhaps you want to be a musician, an athlete, an engineer, a teacher, a doctor, any one of these things, and ask yourself, what would that person generally do? For example, I know that doctors do study a lot, so that person will probably make smart decisions like studying instead of going out and partying, for example, right? So put yourself in that mindset and really think about it. Let's do a quick progress check here. We're at 1.45 miles, so we got about 0.3 miles left to go here. It's been amazing. Let's actually read the chapter summary. There are 3 levels of change: outcome change, process change, and identity change. The most effective way to change your habits is to focus not on what you want to achieve, but on who you wish to become. Your identity emerges out of your habits. Every action is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. Becoming the best version of yourself requires you to continuously edit your beliefs and to upgrade and expand your identity. The real reason habits matter is not because they can get you better results, although they can do that, but because they can change your beliefs about yourself. It's been a lot of fun to read this book. I realize that reading while walking is a little bit strange. I try my best to look up every once in a while to ensure that I'm safe. And surprisingly, I've been able to maintain a pretty straight line when reading. I'm not actually swerving all over the place. And if you do see me somewhat swerving, it's actually because I'm making a direction change, switching to the other side of the street to give cars behind me the right of way. It's been, a goal of mine to actually read this book for a long time. It's one thing to say that I bought the book or say that I'm going to read it, but it's another thing to actually read the book and learn something new. and really apply that knowledge. And that's what I'm hoping that this readout can do for you all. Perhaps by hearing me read the book, you are now a little bit more encouraged to go and achieve the things that you want to achieve and become the person that you want to become. You know, if you're on this journey with me, then maybe that person right now is just to become a walker and to get out of your comfort zone. Again, it's not easy. So the people that I have mentioned to, that I'm reading a book out loud while walking, have definitely questioned my sanity a little bit, in the sense that they think it's a little bit odd. But I know that by doing this, by putting myself out there in a somewhat uncomfortable situation, you know, it's a little bit strange when I'm walking close to people and I'm just reading out loud, but I know that it will improve my confidence and it'll make me probably take more risks in the future because I'm less likely to be embarrassed about what I do. So, all for good reasons. Because I'm reading, I do realize that the pace of these walks is a little bit slower than I normally would do, but that's fine because I'm trading knowledge for pace. The weather here in South Florida is great. It's pretty cold. The walking has certainly helped me warm up a bit, so it's not too bad. But for South Florida, it is cold. Actually, the temperature right now, well, it says it's 78, but I really don't buy that. It's definitely not 78 degrees currently. It says 77. I don't even buy that. It feels probably closer to like 72 or 73. I don't know, a lot of you probably in the Midwest, Northeast are probably laughing when I say that because it's probably a lot colder for you all. But it's just what it is. Not having to do strength training today was nice. Again, I got a full day of recovery. I get to come home, just do my walk. Now I can just get back and shower, pretty much eat and relax for the rest of the night. It's very important to get that R&R. So I'm really, really loving this new schedule. Again, as we approach the time that I will be on vacation, I will give you all a more clear plan of what I'm trying to do. Probably during my vacation, you can expect maybe 3 posts. However, from the 15th through the 25th, I really won't have any time to post anything. So there will be no videos posted between that time. When I come back on the 25th or even the 26th, I will retroactively upload the videos that I shot. But you know, this is one of the times of the year that I look forward to the most. I have a lot of time off. I pretty much take the last 2 weeks of the year off because frankly, it just reminds me of having winter break during high school. And it just feels good. Those were always some of the best 2 weeks, you know, of my life because I just hung out with family and played a lot of video games. So during that time, I do like to relax. Of course, I'm going to continue walking. I'm going to be in Disney World, so I'm probably going to be doing double or triple the amount of steps that I'm amounting to today. But, you know, originally I thought maybe I would shoot something in the parks, but frankly, it's good to disconnect for a little bit, even from something that you enjoy doing, and just really relax and enjoy it. Okay, so we are officially over what we had to walk. I already managed my 1.5 at work. Now I'm at 1.7, so we're pretty much at the 3.2 mark. I want to encourage everyone listening to this video to continue pushing. If you are enrolled in the challenge, you are doing great. Don't worry so much about the 100 miles. Obviously, the 100 miles is a goal to strive for, but again, we now know, instead of shooting for a goal, ask yourself, you know, or tell yourself that you want to become someone that walks. And like a good example, would that person take a cab or would they walk? One of my buddies from work was mentioning to me, he's in his own challenge right now with walking as well, and he literally walks everywhere. Anywhere that he can with a reasonable distance, he walks. So ask yourself how you can become the person you want to be. Think to yourself what actions would that person take and go ahead and implement them. That being said, let me go ahead and pause this workout. Well, finish the workout really. And let's quickly go over the stats. So we did 1.76 miles of walking. The duration was 33 minutes and 50 seconds with an average pace of 19 minutes and 14 seconds per mile with 188 calories and an average heart rate of 86 beats per minute. Gonna finish this workout. This is saving now to map my walk. So this will be uploaded to Challenge Hound for the ongoing challenge. And with all that being said, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you really do feel invigorated by these videos, and you can go ahead and achieve what you want to be, what you want to achieve, and become the person you want to become. And like always, take care everyone, and happy holidays.